just get the door then. Okay. We're going to start. Okay. Oh dear. Okay, well, welcome to this first ever mini TEDx style event that we put together. I love the silence, and that's probably because it's a mix of different groups. When we have smaller groups of 20, there's a lot of buzzing as people come in, and I'm hoping that you all warm up soon. So this is probably how you're feeling right now. Right? Because you don't know what this format's going to be like. This happens on the first day of class. But as we know in class, it gets better. Let me just start off by saying that I'm absolutely thrilled that all of you have made time for this. And as part of teaching this class, you get some people that put in a brilliant effort, I would say hard work and smart work, and they produce and put together some outstanding speeches. And I feel the biggest purpose of this forum is to honor that work and commitment. So this is just a chance to give a tribute to some of the students that have really taken the class seriously, given it their all, and put together speeches that I feel are worth recreating over and over again. As I say in class, try and put 10 hours for a speech and try and make a speech that your grandkids will be proud of. And all 12 of our speakers today have done that. So we're excited about that. We're also really happy to make this a forum for the existing class, about 30 of you, to learn from. Many of you have asked for videos to see good speeches, and this is a great forum for you to learn. No pressure on the ones who are speaking, right? And I'm hoping that this will also become a more of a annual event. And I'm hoping, as we say in class, that we have fun through this, right? Your grades, you're not going to be evaluated again. We will also keep in mind that it's been about 4 months, 3 months, for a couple of you a year since you'll do this again. So we just want to be here and have a good time, enjoy with a little bit of food. This is Arts of Communication in Year 1. Okay, this was an experimental course. As we know, it started off with 1 module last fall. We had the Brave 35 and then 3 different sections last year. About 80 of these people have graduated. So clearly there are other outstanding speeches. But since they've graduated, we are only having speeches from the ones who are here. This is Arts of Com Fall 2014. We have several of you over here. A lot of the speakers are primarily from these sections. And then I think the highest proportion of the group is from Arts of Com of Spring 2015. This is yesterday's picture with a man who has just literally transformed the room and the group, Ben Zander, and whose music that we were listening to. As you've seen, in terms of progression of this course, we're bringing in more guest speakers, and we also want to make sure that through the Facebook alum page and just through keeping you informed, alums are also able to come back and watch inspiring speakers like this. Okay, so our program today is going to touch on a number of these areas. You've seen the slide. Leland, thank you for volunteering. Okay. You've seen the slide. What we're trying to do in these 12 speeches today is cover off on a number of these dimensions. We've picked some of the very good ones, but they will touch on many areas, including the art of ceremonial speaking, toasts, tributes, and eulogies. Former student and current TA, Megan, has also created a video film, and hopefully you'll get a chance to watch that too. So that'll be the agenda. Also for the speakers, unlike class, we're not going to put you through feedback. Okay, you've been through that once already. But we may open it up for 1 or 2 questions from the group. I think what we would love to hear is your preparation. You put together really solid speeches. How did you prepare for this? Okay, so we'll open up for a couple of questions. You can make a couple of comments if you like. And most of all, we want you to enjoy the process. Okay. Here's our lineup. These are our AOC All-Stars who have actually taken the time to come here. And just to get started on what Ben Zander talked to us about putting in passion and really giving everything 100%. Let's give all these 12 individuals a really nice round of applause, okay? We haven't watched your speeches, so we're hoping that they, that they rise to a standard here. But yes, no, thank you for taking the time. This means a lot to the group. And let us start with our very first participant. Let me say just a few words about Brian. I think all 12 of these individuals deserve just a little bit of an introduction. Brian O'Keefe is a first-year student here. And he actually went to school at Louisiana State University, a big football school. And that's where you said you developed your love for college sports. Brian, like many of the students here at Fletcher, has spent considerable time abroad. He spent some time in China, actually learned the language. Interestingly, right before the course, he approached me. He was taking this very seriously. Should I take this course? If I take this course, what do I want to achieve? At the beginning of the semester, we rate ourselves on a scale of 0 to 10. In terms of where we are on public speaking, and then we move the needle. Brian gave himself a 6 on 10, which was humble. And then he delivered this speech. What is also unique about this speech is that it's one of the first speeches we heard in the class. We were barely in week 3, where a lot of the principles, a lot of the thinking had to sink in. And Brian put in at least 10 smart hours in this speech. It is a topic that is difficult to deliver on. And without more ado, let's have our very first speaker for the evening, Brian O'Keefe.
Okay, I'll just put this back on. And you have the clicker?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Thank you. Yep, great. My brother has a couple kids. The oldest one is 10 now. But back when he was 3, as seen here, he started to do something that's so typical of the young mind. He started to ask why. Why, Dad? Why, Uncle Brian? Why? What a remarkable thing. That ability to question. Yet we all do it. So what makes it so remarkable? Well, I would say that it's remarkable because we all do it. We're the only species that has this capacity to question ourselves, our existence, and in doing so to kind of go beyond where we were. As that bastion of trusted news, the National Enquirer, put it, inquiring minds want to know. Right? That's us. We want to know. And our inquiry doesn't stop. Question leads to answer, which leads to new questions, on, and kind of an endless process. We might even say that we are a question to ourselves, and our lives are an answer to that question, always in process. Around the time my nephew was starting to ask his question, I was asking some of my own, like, where am I going in my life, and what do I want? I was studying theology at the time, and I came across the work of a German Jesuit priest named Karl Rahner. Now, Rahner was a student of Martin Heidegger, and like Heidegger, he was fascinated by this capacity we have to question and kind of go beyond ourselves. And Rahner said that this isn't just one characteristic we possess among many. We might change our nationality or what we do for a living, and we would still be human. But take away this capacity to question and wonder, we would no longer be the species that we are. So Rahner was trying to come up with an image for this kind of process that we go through. And he settled on that of the horizon. He said our lives are like a ship sailing on the sea toward a horizon. Up ahead it seems that we'll reach a point where the horizon ends, where the questioning stops, where our growth ceases. But in fact, as we move forward, we discovered that the horizon remains as infinite and vast as it was before. And Rahner said for this to be possible, the horizon that we experience, it must be something utterly boundless, uncontainable within anything else. As he put it, the horizon cannot be present within the horizon. The ultimate measure cannot be measured. And this, Rahner said, is what we mean by the term God. God is the horizon of our being, both the orientation and the destination of our deepest longing, hope, and wonder. If we could reach that end, if we could understand that horizon, it would no longer be infinite. And if it were not infinite, we could not be the dynamic and growing people that we are. So in short, without the horizon being what it is, we would not be who we are. This is very interesting, I think, because it sends a different message about what boundless mystery means. Rather than the horizon being something to fear or be troubled by, it's actually something that makes the dynamism of human life possible. Think of falling in love and finding the person you love endlessly interesting and fascinating. And moreover, although this horizon is kind of incomprehensible, it's not remote, because the place we experience it is in the depths of our hearts. Whenever we listen to our deepest desires, or follow our conscience, or work for justice. And indeed, I mean, we might say that we, in coming to Fletcher, whether to study business, or diplomacy, or to teach, have responded to the horizon in the way that it's calling us. And as we go forward in our life, we will discover new dimensions of this horizon because it is inexhaustible. And as we do that, we will participate in a process that we were made for, which is to grow, to wonder, to change, and in doing so, to remake ourselves and our world. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Brian?
Just want to say, I hope I can talk like that by the end of this class.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you. Ellen?
Brian, that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I know that you have a very calm demeanor just from being with you in other classes, but you didn't come across nervous at all. Is that something that you developed over the class, or were you still nervous and we just couldn't see it? Was it like that from the beginning?
Yeah. I mean, I get kind of dry, not like I really want water. For me, it's preparation. I mean, Professor Moncott talks about putting 8 or 10 hours into a speech. I put, 10 or 12 into this one. And even this past week, I put another 8 into it. So I think for me, preparation is the key to it. Yeah.
And what was unique about your participation in the class is that you had this consistency in preparation. All of your speeches, all of your assignments had the rigor that they need, and that's why you were able to reproduce what you did for us. Once again, Brian O'Keefe.
Thanks.
Okay, our next speaker was very beloved with the class, with the group. Her name is Sirinrat, also called Kukai. Kukai is actually from Thailand. She actually worked with the ministry as a diplomat in Thailand and shared a lot about her culture with us through her speeches. In fact, her press conference media interview speech was of a festival of lights in Thailand. Her first speech already was one that we were quite impacted by. It was on not texting while driving, and she gave us a soundbite that I think we remembered better than any other soundbite in class. And that was a text, an extra text.
One text or call can ruin it all.
One text or call can ruin it all. So that was an example of a soundbite that we had. Today, Kukai is going to reproduce her speech on the power of simplicity. Of silence, I'm sorry. The power of silence, right? And we're going to have 5 minutes to listen to this brilliant speech that she put together. Kukai, please come to stage, and round of applause, please, for Kukai. Just a second while we get you on.
Okay.
The microphone for you.
Thank you. Oh, nice. So, I believe in the power of silence. So, being a graduate student is not easy because we have overlapping assignments due, we have papers to write, and we have readings to be checked off our reading list. And especially when you're a Fletcher student, each and every one of you is so interesting that you always want to get to know someone all the time. On top of that, you want to get involved in clubs, do all sorts of fun activity. So there's always something going on in your brain. And being a human being in this 21st century is also not easy, because I feel that there was not any point in history where we human being has become so involved in so much external factors like checking our phones, Facebooks, or Instagram. So there's always something going on in your brain. So I believe in the power of silence. To me, silence is staying in the present moment. Silence is meditation, and silence is giving yourself the permission to listen to yourself. So think of the time when your classmate was up here giving a very, very good speech, and there was this silent moment of pause. That pause made their speech much stronger, because that pause allows the listeners and the speakers to reconnect, and they stay in the present moment as the ideas sink into the listener's mind. So I started to appreciate this power of silence when I was 20. My friend and I would drive up to the northeastern part of Thailand, and we would meditate on top of the hill for 3 full days. Everything was very minimal. We wore white clothes, no makeup, we eat less, speak less, and we have no cell phones, of course. All we did was meditate. At the beginning, it was really hard because I would find that there will be so many noisy voices in my head all the time. I would be wondering, did I lock my house door? Is there any important phone call I have to get back to? So it was really hard, and on top of that, we have to sit still in silence for hours, and my leg would work so badly. But what surprises me is that as I continue to practice this power of silence, I find that my brain become more silent as well. I've become more calm. I appreciate what's going on around me and I find myself making better decisions. So it was then that I realized how much of an impact silence can have on me. So each time I feel overwhelmed, I would remind myself that I have this power of silence to help me. So because silence allows me to tap into my gut feeling, and silence allows me to listen to the inner voice, which is telling me what is the right thing to do. So a lot of you here are having your midterm right now or in the next couple of weeks. So might be feeling like everything is overwhelmed, like you're never gonna get anything done. So I encourage you to try what has always worked for me. Maybe starting tonight before going to bed, even 5 minutes can make a difference. Try abandoning all external factors, especially your phone, and notice your breath going inhale and exhale. And you'll be amazed by how much it can increase your focus as you live in the present moment with the power of silence. Okay, thank you.
Any reactions to Kukai's speech? Questions? Kukai, I must say that when we first spoke in the very first week, right, you spoke about all the things that happen to you on stage, right? For a lot of us, our body starts doing things that it doesn't naturally do when you get on stage. And from there, like the first time we spoke, to what you've done again now with a group of 60 plus completely new people after a while is just really amazing. Tell us a little bit about your process.
Of this round or the back
Just
then?
preparation throughout.
Throughout, back then, I did everything, like recorded myself, practiced with my roommate, and spoke in front of the mirror. And for this time, it was just the second round, so I just practiced like normally. I think Yong Bao has his hand up.
I'm just curious, like when you meditate, do you just listen to your breathing, or are you then evaluating yourself? And what were you thinking when you were in silence?
When I'm in silence, so in Buddhist meditation, you follow your breath. As you inhale, the breath starts from the nose to the heart and to the belly. And you keep following the breath going in and out from belly to the heart, out the nose. So you keep following your breath until you forget every external stuff. Yeah, so that kind of like increases your focus and kind of like a trick for you to stay in the present moment. A mechanism, not a trick. Yeah.
Anything else? Yes.
And why did you tell me that you're bad at public speaking?
Well, I'm still nervous.
Luca, you rated yourself as a very humble 4 at the beginning of class, and I think you moved way more than 2 points, as we
you.
all agree. You know, for all the preparation that you have, and even for your roommate, the only thing that I forgot this for Brian, the only thing that I've got is our kind bars. So Sirendra, congratulations on recreating this.
you.
And here's a kind bar for you, and this is also for your roommates who came all the way over here. Hey, Sirendra Satandi.
Thank you.
Brian, you can't forget you. So here we go.
Oh, I took my
Okay, so that was a value speech. Brian's speech was actually a reframing speech. We all actually, there's a few guests outside, so just we have a few different briefs. Our very first speech is a problem solution speech. The second one is typically a value speech. You talk about something that you believe in. The third one is a simulated media interview. But besides those, we also have a few optional speeches like a toast, tribute, or eulogy, and we also do debates. Now, our next speaker is actually going to recreate one of the optional speeches that wasn't graded. Typically, it's about 20% of your grades. You really want to prepare. Jennifer Nomchik made this wonderful speech giving a tribute to her mother. Okay, and when we heard it, we knew that it had to be recreated. Jennifer, thank you for coming, and we're looking forward to hearing it. Next slide is your... So first we can come back to it. We can see how we feel.
It's okay.
No, no, it's just it was something that, like, this speech I didn't really prepare at all, even when I first did it, because my mother's my rock. So it's just, all right. Sorry, I usually don't cry in front of people. I feel so embarrassed right now. All right. Okay, so I would like to take this time to tribute this speech to my mother, Joanne Aguilera. So, picture this, 5-year-old me. My mother just remarried the man that would become my father. So, after going through the pains of divorce, I decided not to really speak much because I also had a speech impediment. My peers would make fun of me when I would talk, so I decided to stay in, although at home I would run my mouth. So, because I was very silent and I would not say nothing, by the end of the kindergarten term, the teachers decided that they were going to leave me back. For Joanne, no, this would not do. She marched into the kindergarten room, knocked on the door and said, pass this young girl, and I swear to you, she will rise beyond expectations. So they said, okay, we'll let this go and see if you're right or not. So, just think, a year later, for all those that know me, Jennifer, the girl that would run her mouth, the epiphany of me running my mouth would happen to this day. So I say thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Mother, for having faith in me when others did not. So I want to flash forward, 13-year-old me, 13. We all go through changes. I had a friend that we would talk about the pains of divorce. She went behind my back to get my stepsister's approval, which ended which got towards nothing. And then I had my own father stand and say nothing when my stepmother looked at me and said, if it was between you and me, your father would choose me, honey. I was in tears. I couldn't take anymore. I said, forget it. I can't do this anymore, so I'm just not going to be me and try to be someone else. My mother came up to me and she goes, oh, no, 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 bad things are going to happen, but just remember this. Remember, just like any storm clears, you see the sun, and sometimes a double rainbow might happen. So remember this. You will always be phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me. So thank you, Joanne Aguilera, for installing the confidence in me that I could install in my mentees when I was a peer mentor for the EOP program back at the University at Albany, for installing the confidence in me that I could spread to my children, to my little girls and boys in Japan, that you can be who you want to be and don't let any of the haters spoil you. But she also told me that don't bash on the haters, you have to love your enemies as well, because it'll make you a much better person. So, flash forward, winter break me. I love Fletcher, academically. Socially, I wanted to quit. Last semester, I wanted to quit. I couldn't take it. I was in an environment that I was not used to being. Coming from a place where 60% of the population is under the poverty line, including my family. I couldn't take it. I wanted to drop out. My mother turned around. She said, no, you're not going to give up. This is not you. Because, remember this, Fletcher is more than your enhancement. Fletcher is a voice not only for your family, it's a voice for your community. A community that at times does not have a voice, which others mock. You have this opportunity on your plate that you can give your community, which is sometimes ignored, giving it a voice. And I did listen to my mother. Thank you, Mom, for installing the courage in me and actually making me realize that Fletcher is more than my advancement. It's the advancement for my family, since I am a first-generation college student. It's the advancement of my community, in which out of my graduating class, only 4 people went to college. Thank you, Mom, for installing that confidence in me. That made me know that I ain't gonna quit this place, no matter if I might have to punch someone in the face. So every time I kept on saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, but there is one thing that I gotta get off my chest. I would also like to say, sorry. Sorry, Mom, for some of the things I had to put you through. Although I was young and naive, and I know you knew that, I still want to take the time to say sorry. That although last month you didn't have the money, you helped me get a new bed when I needed a new bed, which I'm not going to say the reasons why. But thank you for helping me cover a $400 bed, although you have no money to. Because you know I didn't have the money to. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything, because I have no words to say. Keep on saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So I just want to say thank you for all of you to take the time to come listening to tribute to my mother. Yes, she is 56, but she don't look it. She's strong, she's my rock, and she's always there with me. Thank you.
Jennifer, really well done. Really
I'm
well
sorry.
done.
I
This
feel like I
is-
was rambling.
No. It's just to give the speech that you did, as you did, it's a real treat for us. Thank you. Any comments, questions for Jen? Yeah.
That was one of the most honest speeches I've ever heard. Thank you very much. I was wondering whether you were scared at all to show us your true self.
A little bit, especially about the Fletcher part. Because then I don't want people to say, oh, because, well, last semester I thought maybe if I said that, people would think, oh, maybe this girl isn't smart enough, maybe she's a little timid, but with my class, this is why Arts and Communication last semester was my favorite class, because my class gave me love after my speech. And I really appreciate that love. And that's why I wanted to come and recreate my speech today, just to give back to the class that showed me love when I least expected it. So.
Brett?
Thank you, Jen, for your vulnerability on stage. I'm really happy that I got to see this.
And I'm happy you came to see this too. Brad's my really good friend, so.
Jen, yes, the last speech, did you say you showed it to your mother, or did she watch?
I never did yet, but maybe, cause I actually, what was it, a few weeks ago when she helped me buy the bed, I broke down and cried. So that's why I kind of cried today. So, but maybe next week, 'cause I'm going home for spring break, so maybe I will show her the speech. I think it would be a good time. So, yeah. I just need to, the video's still up, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you have this too, okay? But I think we can all agree that Jennifer's mother would be really, really proud of us. So, Joel, John, and Terry, there's a couple of seats here. You can also, I want you to stand, there's also a couple of chairs back there, and we can just make sure we can be comfortable. Okay, how are you guys doing? Good? Good. Okay. What was that again? What was that again? Now, what did our man Ben Zander teach us? Let's hear it one more time. 1, 2, 3. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay, Brad. Thank you. Next up, in this exciting program, we have our first and amazing cross-registrant. So amongst the 200 students that have taken the class, we had 30 individuals from Harvard, one from MIT. That a lot of Fletcher students get there too. But for all the cross-registrants, it takes an hour or so to get to school. And for one cross-registrant who's going to go right after Shivan, it takes 2 hours to get to school. And she still did it. Shivan, when you actually told me the summer before class started, that you really want to take this class, I was surprised. There's why in your blog you wrote about the fact that you met Fletcher people and they've always had a good impact on you. And we're really thankful that you were part of the class, Shivan. You brought so much in all your assignments, your video assignments, all your speeches. I know that your wife is proud and has been a big mentor and coach also for you. Teach on compassion as a muscle. Okay, let's hear what he said to us in the 5 minutes when he spoke. Shivan Sareen.
What an introduction. It's a high bar. Thank you for organizing this whole event, and thank all of you for coming. It's so inspiring to hear stories from all of you in one-on-one meetings or in this forum, so I want to thank you all for coming here. My story starts with my grandfather. He was born in 1924, 23 years before India gained its independence. He looked up to his leaders like Gandhi and Nehru, and he heard them when they talked about compassion as a muscle that gets stronger with use. Compassion is a muscle that gets stronger with use. And he heard these words, but he also saw them in action. So he saw compassion have the power to overcome the darkness of colonialism. So when he set sail on his career, he hitched his boat to the Star of Compassion. He went into government service in order to give opportunity to those in India that didn't have it. And as he went through his career, he saw injustice, specifically against those who had contracted leprosy. So using the tools he had to overcome this injustice, he used compassion. He moved in with people who had leprosy at that time. He wanted to understand the discrimination that they felt and the needs and wants that they had. He invited them into his home to get those conversations started, to truly understand what it felt like when those people were ousted from their own homes. So that when he went back into government, he could convince those in power to give those who needed services those services. He used compassion in his way to overcome injustice. So when my parents came from India to the United States, they brought this most important value with them. I remember when I was young, I would sit in my dad's office playing with my brother or doing my homework. Meanwhile, my dad, a professor at Virginia Tech, would spend hours talking to his students, not just about academics, but about who they were. He would bring students from conflicting nations, Israel, Palestine, or India, Pakistan, just to name a couple, bring them to the table and talk to them about their hopes, their dreams, their lives, what concerned them about their countries. He used compassion to overcome that small sense of conflict. Compassion to overcome colonialism, compassion to overcome injustice, compassion to overcome conflict. So these are just two or a couple of stories from my life, of the hundreds of stories in this room of how compassion affects us, or touches those that we admire. Anytime I'm involved in conflict or a difficult situation, I think back to my grandfather spending hours talking to leprosy patients about their hopes and their dreams. Or I think about my dad spending the same amount of time talking to his students about what concerned them. And while my grandfather recently passed, it's comforting, and I feel lucky that I have that experience to draw on when I need it. So now we're here in Tufts, graduate students or recently graduated students, and I see people sitting on this table that are going to have power. Power to inspire others, power to teach the next generation, power to lead communities or countries. And I'm here to tell you today that that power is useless without compassion. I urge you to draw on those experiences that have touched you or touched those you admire with compassion. I'm not here to tell you it's going to be easy. It's the hardest problems that need the most compassion, whether it's the civil rights issues growing out of Ferguson, or political intransigence in Washington, D.C., or international conflict all around the world. Those are the problems that need the most compassion, and I urge you to use it. And how do you do that? Every day, just take one small step towards compassion, because eventually that one step turns into 100 steps, and that turns into 100 miles. Then and only then do you tone that muscle of compassion. Then and only then can we do what is hard and achieve what is great. Thank you.
Questions, comments for Shivan? Yeah, that's you.
That was a very good speech and with a lot of symbols, and I mean I could see very clearly what you were saying. So I think that you were a bit nervous, but still your tone and your delivery was not nervous at the same time. Like how do you how do you deal with that?
That's a good question. I think the people in our class will know that coming into the class I would shake a lot. And you can hear it in my voice a lot of times also. This speech is particularly fun for me to present because it's a value speech and it's about who I am. And it's about stories that I connect with so much. So while in other contexts it might be harder for me to deliver it, here, because it comes from inside me, it's much easier, much more comfortable to deliver it. So I think finding subjects that you feel passionate about makes it easier sometimes to deliver speeches.
Anything else for Shivan? Let me comment that, Shivan, the way we broke down your progress was really a benchmark, right? In the very first speech, it was very difficult for you to make eye contact with anyone. So you used to look above, then you look down. And we said each speech, let's work on one thing. And the next speech that Shivan came to us, and there was a significant improvement in that eye contact. And then another significant improvement. The first speech, he didn't make any eye contact at all. And this speech, when you watch on video, you really did look and talk to people. So I think just in the short amount of time, how you were able to move the needle through your own discipline is a real benchmark for us. And the humility with which you came to Fletcher, you integrated with the community and you made friends, was also really appreciated by everyone, Shivan, who interacted with you. So please, a round of applause for Shivan. Kind bar for you, yeah? Yes, kind bars for your kindness. Do you have the clicker, Shivan? Or no, I have it right here. I'm nervous too. Okay, so from Shivan, a cross-registrant from Harvard Law School, to another cross-registrant and another person equally loved by the class, Rachel Roberts. Rachel Roberts is a special studies student at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. She is a concert-level flutist. She has a twin sister and is from Iowa. Your sister is also a musician, right, Rachel? Right. She joined our class not knowing what it'd be like, and we were so happy that you joined, and then this group was so happy that you happened to sit in the class a couple of weeks ago, because within 2 days, she was able to turn around Ben Zander to come in and meet with us, just by the quality of the relationship and that he had with you. When I walked Ben Zander out, he said that, look, you know, one of my former, I guess, colleagues, Rachel Roberts, sent me an email and said, you know, this class is here, you should speak to them, and I didn't question it. I respect her so much that I need to come and do it, and we can see why. And I'll also say one thing personally. Look, I generally love my job. There's ups and downs, and Rachel, you sent me 3 or 4 emails, you know, through the semester when you didn't need to, of just small notes. And they made such an impact on me. I was just one of those times when you feel like, you know, life has had its up and down, but you must have done something right to have to work with students like you. So, Rachel Roberts, come and join us for the speech on time. Here, I'm not sure what view you're getting from there. Or we can even move the seats back there if you want. After this, we'll have a little bit of a water bathroom break.
So today, I want to talk with you about time. It seems everywhere I go, people are running from place to place with their head down, and they're on their iPhones. If I take the time to ask, how are you? The most common response that I get is, I'm just so busy. And so I've started asking myself, well, why are we so busy? And the more I think about it, I think there's 2 types of busyness. The first, let me tell you a story from my family. My mom quit her job when she had my sister and I, my twin, to stay home and take care of us. About 7 months later, my parents bought their first home for us to move into. And 3 or 4 weeks later, my dad unexpectedly came home from work early. He, along with hundreds of other people in town, had just been laid off. So with twin girls to take care of, a new mortgage payment, no savings and no job, my dad truly was busy trying to find a way to put food on the table. Now, while this type of busyness definitely exists today, the people who are giving me the answers of, I'm so busy, typically have a different interpretation of that message. I'm finding that that answer of being busy is like a status symbol. It's a recognition that your time is really valued. And because your time is valued, you must be spending it in really interesting ways. And if you're spending your time in really interesting ways, then you must be successful. And if you're successful, then you have no choice. You're just busy. I disagree. We all have a choice about the way we want to spend our time. And frankly, this has become an epidemic. It's a disease or a dis-ease, an uncomfortableness with having time to think that's uninterrupted, without distractions. I would argue that we all have a choice as to the distractions that we choose to bring in our life. And frankly, technology, while it provides so many benefits, this is one huge non-benefit. In fact, I just learned today that this is becoming recognized enough that between sundown today and sundown tomorrow, it's the National Day of Unplugging. So take that for what you will, but I would also encourage you to think it's a choice of how you spend your time. It's a choice of the people that you spend time with. And it's also a choice for whether or not, it's a choice for whether or not you want to spend your time living your life dictated by success through technology, or living your life through a choice of success as defined by yourself. In closing, I'd encourage you all to think about that we are not just humans doing, but we are humans being.
Thoughts, comments, reactions? Yes, Raha?
Just a quick reaction. Rachel, that was a lovely speech. It's funny what you mentioned about dis-ease because Ben Zander...
I heard that, and I did not copy it from him. I read it a couple years ago and had no idea that was part of his spiel, too.
No, but it really resonated just as yours did.
Rachel, tell us about this topic. How did you pick this topic for your value speak?
Actually, it was a class that I was taking last semester at Hugsy. It was called Massive, The Future of Learning at Scale. It was all about online learning. And I had to sit down and write a paper at one point, and 2 days. One, just to live my life normally and see how much I was addicted to technology, and two, the second day, not to be a part of it at all. And I sat down to write my paper, and within 5 minutes started opening up multiple browsers. And it really had me thinking how addicted to technology I am, and what that therefore means. What am I looking up? What am I checking on? What am I comparing myself to or not? What types of information am I taking in when I use technology? So that's where it came from.
How was your experience at Fletcher?
Awesome. I feel like I could come here and hide away and have a whole different life than what my normal world is. So it was fun, and I came back and crashed the class last week and hope to come back again, but it's a special place here.
Rachel Roberts, you're always welcome here at Fletcher as long as you'd like, and even though it takes you 2 hours every time from Hyde Park to get here from Fletcher, to get here to Fletcher. Congratulations, and thank you for... Okay, we'll do one more, then we'll have a quick water bathroom break, the halfway point. Let's see who is up next. Uh-oh! Okay, so... Yeah, I mean, Leland is a student from last semester, TA this semester. One of the best things that's happened to Fletcher. And I tell people that, I joke with them that, we have a future president in the class. And then Leland actually, and you're just saying that because I look like her. Leland made a speech last week on why he did another speech in class, and he practiced it. It was his 4th speech assignment that he brought into class because he was asked to speak conference last year, Fulbright Scholarship Conference. And again, he took that speech with so much seriousness that now that speech is on the front of the Fulbright web. Sit down and tell us why you smile.
taking my 10 seconds, guys. So throughout my time thus far at Fletcher, a lot of people have been asking me, Leland, why do you smile so much? And so I've thought to myself, Leland, why do you smile so much? So I put it some thought, and I figured out the answer. The answer is my faith. See, my faith is a catalyst that makes me a braver, a kinder, and a more positive person. Now, there are 3 verses in the Bible that prove this. The first one is, I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me. So that verse encourages me to say, despite all the exams, all the essays, and yes, all the speeches I have to do, I can do them. But it was also this verse that encouraged my grandma to leave Panama, that little country she only ever knew, to board a plane with her 6 little children and travel to the United States, the land that she heard was a place of liberty and justice for all. And it's that same verse that continues to inspire people and Christians all over the world who feel discouraged or discriminated against. We heard yesterday Ben Zander talking about moving from the world of anger to that world of transformation. For me, religion helps me to get to that place. The second verse is, treat thy neighbor as thyself. It's a variation of the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. Now, every major religion in the world teaches the golden rule, right? From Christianity to Judaism to Islam to Confucianism to Buddhism. Now, don't get me wrong. You can practice the golden rule without religion. But I want you guys to think about the last time that you were walking down the street or on the subway. How many people smiled at you? How many people said hi, really said hi? As what Rachel just said, we tend to be so busy that we don't take the time to show kindness to others. So for me, religion is a way to stop and show kindness to my brethren. Now the third verse is, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Now, I didn't really know what that meant until 4 years ago. At that time, my mom came down with a rare liver disease. One moment, she was in the hospital telling my dad and me that everything would be all right. And the next day, she was in a coma. So my dad, my grandma, my aunts, uncles, cousins, they were also devastated because the doctor said that she had only 48 hours to find a liver. But you know what? A small voice told me to keep a smile on and to have faith. And at the end of those 48 hours, a liver was found in Florida, flown up to New York. The doctors operated on my mom, and my mom survived. Now, was that a miracle? I'll leave that up to you to decide. But that positive spirit that served as my guiding light in the midst of that darkness makes it every bit worth it to believe in religion. So why do I smile? I smile because I believe I can do all things with the help of the man upstairs. And I smile because I want to show kindness and love to all my neighbors, all of you. And religion has taught me to stare in the face of despair and smile. Thank you.
Maybe this speech should go on the front page of the Fletcher. Yeah, okay, yeah. Sabina.
So I was really impressed. Fantastic speech. I didn't expect any less of you though, so I'm curious to know whether most of your sort of public speaking skills came, like, were you already a really good speaker before, or did you learn most of it through the class? How did that complement some of the experiences that you've had before joining the class?
I would say I was, in terms of giving prepared speeches, I would have given myself a 6 or 7. But in terms of being an impromptu speaker, terrible. So I think in that avenue of public speaking, I grew so much in the arts communication class. Especially, who's doing the presidential debate?
Yeah. Steve, Toby, you do?
Yeah.
And then,
it's hard, dude.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Thanks, Leland.
Sorry.
And Murli here? Yeah.
Oh, I'm selected?
Depends on your application. Yes. What's your name?
My name's Brianne.
Brianne.
So Leland, you're a natural. I mean, you just come across so at ease on stage. And I'm wondering, can you talk a little bit about the process for content development? Like, how did you come up with this? It comes across so conversationally. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
So, Brianna, actually, throughout the semester, I felt as if some of the classmates from last semester tell me if I'm speaking the truth, which is that sometimes it can come off as too rehearsed, right? As too prepared or something like that. So that's why I loved this speech in particular, because I wanted to show a vulnerable side to me. And that story about my mom is the most vulnerable. That was literally the hardest time, right? 2 days to try to find a liver. But it all worked out. So it's a vulnerable story, but I was really glad to have shared it with you guys.
Go ahead, Murli.
So, did you at all have any second thoughts about basing this entire story, which is very, very good, by the way, on religion?
Yeah. I was supposed to only focus on saying faith, because I think faith has a different, much more positive tone than religion, right? When you think religion, you're thinking dogma, you're following a church, and that church has a certain doctrine that you have to follow. But faith is much more, your own personal connection to God, right? Your own personal exploration, right? Finding that horizon. So I was trying really, really hard to only say faith, but it slipped, and I said religion. My bad.
So we have a bunch of undergrads also from the Tufts University. You are raising your hand, so how about a round of applause? I'm just wondering, if you're watching a few students, what is any reflections that you all have sitting here?
I've been very amazed at what I've seen. I mean, clearly you guys are doing something right in class, and you all know what you're doing. But yeah, it's very inspirational for us as people who are interested in this kind of thing to watch people of your caliber do this.
It seems to me like the climate of compassion that you have generated in this class. I mean, the speeches are so. You put so much compassion into that, as did all of the speakers, and the responses that are coming back are so considerate and so empathetic. And I think that is really, really key to kind of this environment of creating good speakers here.
And I think it's a good point, as you're working with some of your speakers on the Tufts TEDx, which is going to happen, I think, on April 17th. If you have some forums and you kind of create a safe space in those practice sessions, I think that can kind of move the needle quite a bit. But thank you for taking the time to come here and spend some time with us. Leland, I mean, I just don't know what to say about you. I think I throw everything out there. It's just, you're talking about impromptu, but you just brought in two elements of just things that we just heard right now. What Rachel said, what Shivan said, what Benzander said the other day. And really, this is so absolutely amazing. So on that note, why don't we take a 2-minute, let's take a 3 or 4 minute bathroom break, water break, and we'll be right back here to carry on with Megan. Okay?